Hi friends, welcome. Today I want to talk about a trip I took to New York City recently and what I learned from it. You know, they say that it is better to see a place once than to hear about it 1,000 times. And I have heard about New York City thousands, if not millions, if not dozens of times, although I haven't done the exact math. But I visited there only once, and that once happened quite recently. Me and my wife took a trip there to be a part of some creator events that were going on, and among other reasons to visit New York City. We hopped on a plane, flew across the Pacific Ocean from Utah to New York City. We roamed the airports of New York City, all of them. We just decided to walk around all the airports for a while. And then we hopped on the subway. We hopped on the New York City subway, and it was an iconic experience. I am sure that people who live in New York City get very jaded to the majesty of the New York City subway system. I've seen it so many times in movies and in videos, and it had the nice iconic grimy feel to it, tiles, interesting architecture. I had trouble getting through one of the gates, the turnstile, I suppose. And an officer of the law helped me out. She sounded mad at me, but I think that's just normal because she lives in New York City. So we waited for a train. A train came down the tunnel. The sound of the trains coming through the tunnel was one of my favorite parts. I thought it was so interesting. And so it comes, and I used to play video games where you would hear the sounds of, you'd be in the New York City subway and you would hear the sounds, and it sounded just like that, and that was special. So we hopped on the train, rode all the way in to New York City. We came out of the subway tunnel. The first stop, I turned around, and there was the Empire State Building, and that was amazing. We hung out in a Starbucks. We were very tired at this point, I believe. We were running on little sleep. We hopped back on the subway, went to hang out with our friends John and Sarah in their office, which happens to be in the same building as Casey Neistat's office. And so we were able to stay in their office. We were able to sleep in their office. And we went to the creator events, which were walking distance from their office, it was just such an interesting thing. It was a lot of fun. I made a video about the creator events recently, and I'll link to that, what I learned about going to these creator events and other creator events. But I wanted to talk about what I learned from the experience of going to New York City as a whole, the entire couple of days that we were there. The process of traveling is something that can be uncomfortable. It's amazing in so many ways, but with that amazingness comes uncomfortability and great challenge. You may be on the subway with somebody you don't feel so safe about. They look a little off, and you're worried about your personal body. You may have to deal with some logistical issues that are quite frustrating. We actually ended up staying another day because we missed our flight on the last day because it takes a little longer than you initially anticipate to get from the city to the airport, and we kind of miscalculated that a little bit. So we missed the flight, everything worked out, but that whole process was quite uncomfortable in a lot of ways. It was a lot of problem solving, it was a lot of frustration, it was a lot of coming out of your comfort zone. You get pushed out of your routine when you go on trips like this. And New York City is a pretty excitable place. It's very different than being in a lot of other places in the world. So it's a big shift. It's a bigger shift than it would be if you went to a lot of other places. And so experiencing this grows you. It changes you. Anthony Bourdain says that it leaves a mark on your memory, on your consciousness, on your heart, and on your body. And I think that's such a fantastic way to explain that, how it affects you. On the good side, you go through all of this, and it refreshes you and it re-energizes you. You come back to your old world feeling like you're ready to punch life in the face in a way that is hard to do without the experience of traveling, changing your surroundings, changing your routines, changing everything about how your life flows for a little bit. When I came back, I started using the phrase jet fuel. I felt like I drank jet fuel while I was there. Came back, I was like an F-16 fighter, ready to take off and take on the world. And that was because of the insane creative and productive energy that I felt while I was there. Everybody's moving, everything's happening all at once. Another thing is, it felt like the center of the universe for me, because as a YouTube creator, the New York City ecosystem of creators is the sort of, epitome of creators in a lot of ways. You have LA and you have New York City, you have a couple other hubs, but the New York City one is particularly special. And to be in that place, to be physically standing in front of the building where Casey Neistat works at 368, all these things, was amazing. It felt like the center of a galaxy. That was a crazy experience for me, and everything felt very aligned within me at that point. I felt aligned with meaning in a lot of ways. One thing is that considering that different places have different flows, you have to go through the process of adapting yourself to that different flow as you go through the days. You have to, it feels like a tearing motion that happens within you to get you there. For us, that meant sort of like 3 days nonstop minus a little bit of sleep. And it's interesting because you think you work hard until you hang out with other people that work really hard. And it teaches you that you always have room to grow. Traveling teaches you a lot of wonderful things like this. Another thing that happens is because the flow is so different, you go into this state of high speed problem solving. You're constantly doing this until you go to sleep at night. It's nonstop problem after problem that you have to sort out. And what this does is it makes you have to be, and it makes you become more limber and flexible in life. And I definitely experienced that while I was there. I also had to navigate the New York City subway alone, which was very exciting. I had to ask people for help. I had to talk to locals. I had to talk to a police officer. It was crazy. It was like a movie. I mean, it was like a really short movie that lasted only like maybe 20 minutes, but it was confusing. It had a nice plot line to it. I figured it out. I didn't end up going to New Jersey, and it all worked out. But that was a growing experience. That was a fun experience. It was an adventurous experience. It was exciting. One of the major benefits of being there was that I got to watch other creators create and be productive and see how they go about their day, particularly Sarah and John, because we spent the most time with them. They're very motivated individuals. You get to see them go to meetings and go to coffee shops to edit, and you get to see how they're just in and out of their office all day long. You feel very inspired by that. You get ideas from that. You receive inspiration in ways that you aren't even realizing consciously. And that was amazing for me. That was helpful for me. I've taken that and I will never forget that, and I use that in my daily life. Another thing is you get to build relationships with creators in ways that you can't build if you're not there. You get to create a firm foundation with the people who you're interested in creating relationships with, because you spent maybe just 5 minutes with them, maybe 3 minutes, 30 seconds with them, made eye contact, you were a nice person, you were a good friend, and you set up something that you wouldn't be able to set up in the same way on Twitter or Instagram. And once again, you get to learn from them. You get to ask them questions. You get to actually ask them specific questions to problems you may be struggling with that you see that they're good at dealing with, right? I had a conversation with John Hill about accomplishing goals, and he's accomplished quite a bit over time. He's good at this. He's very, like I said, a motivated individual. He's very hyperactive, And I thought he had something interesting to say. While we were there, this ended up in the vlog that one of the vlogs that we ended up sharing about the trip. I spoke to him about this, and I thought it would be interesting to share here. He had a lot of good things to say about accomplishing goals. I think it's a great example of some of the things you can learn from being physically in the environment with people like John and like all the other people that I got to hang out with. Oh, also, pardon my horribly chapped lips. My body was adapting to the climate change. Hey, John.
Talk to me.
First off, I feel like this is the first time we've sat down on video together and just chatted a little bit.
It is.
This is really nice.
It is.
And I just want to let you know how much we appreciate you being part of our lives.
Same.
Both in terms of friendship and financially. Like, you and Sarah have been so tremendously helpful.
I appreciate that. Yeah, you guys have been probably, in my opinion, more helpful in a sense. But yeah, you saved us. Yeah.
I was curious though. So you, in your time,
yes,
you moved to like, what, 35 different cities?
77.
77, okay.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I forgot about all the Asian cities. What I really wanted to ask you was, how do you get your hair to be so spacey?
Spacey as in like wafty like this?
No, it looks like space.
Oh, like actual space. Black dye. Because space, I don't know if you guys have ever seen it, it's like black. Which is weird though, when you look up during the day, it looks blue. Have you noticed that? Like, I almost don't believe any of the astronauts.
We're on a flat Earth.
I've noticed that too. I've noticed that.
I mean, look that way. Does that
That's
curve?
flat. No. I'm not tipping over. I don't feel unstable.
Right?
It's flat.
We're all sideways right now. That's kind of interesting. Okay, what I really wanted to ask.
Okay, really, double.
Thank you for that advice.
Of course.
You have a lot of goals that you want to accomplish.
Yes.
But I feel like you've also accomplished quite a few goals, and I'm curious if there's anything particularly helpful that you've learned about accomplishing goals by accomplishing them.
The only advice that I feel like I could give with it that is sort of helpful is that usually accomplishing a goal isn't the best part of the process. I have never been as lost as I was accomplishing my life's goal. Okay. Once I accomplished my life's goal, which was becoming a professional skateboarder, I've never been as lost as I was for the 6 months after that. So I will say for anyone out there, if you do dream big and you want to do something, one of the scariest things is actually accomplishing it. Enjoy the process there, because the serendipity that you get along the way, that's the best part. The relationships, the community, all that stuff.
You have to build a sort of a foundation for yourself, I think, and continue to take care of that foundation.
Right.
Or else something will fall off over here, and then you're
Definitely.
like, oh, that's weird. So, but you're also into this idea of progressing daily. I would rip both of my shirts off and show my Progress Daily shirt.
Yes.
But within that idea of progressing daily, at least to me, there is this importance on creating sort of structure for yourself to actually make sure you do make progress on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts about that side of things? Like organizing a structure for your life so that you don't just sort of waste your days away?
100%. I think most people who do crazy big things and entrepreneurs will tell you that there needs to be some continuation in all your days. So for me, it is meditation, a little bit of workout, similar meals every single morning, every single day, and that sort of helps me get the simple tasks out the way, which is when you do a bunch of simple tasks in a row, it really pushes you to work on those bigger tasks. And that's why people like Michael Phelps, he has like a legit number, like 30 tasks that he accomplishes before a big race. So it's this thing where he's like boom, 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 and by the time you're on 21, 22, 23, your body, like, it just gets more exciting. So I always start off the day with 5 to 10 very easy things to accomplish, and they get harder and harder and harder, and then I try to focus on like one big project, and I break that down into tiny things I can do within 10 minutes. James, thank you.
You guys should definitely watch his channel if you're interested in skating. And ridiculous humor, like just the most outrageous humor that may not even make sense to you.
Testicles!
Testicles indeed. I'm very grateful that I've been able to build a relationship with John, and I've been able to work with him as well. Something that was amazing about New York City was all the new experiences, the saturation, the plethora, if you will, of new experiences. From everything from seeing the Freedom Tower in person, being able to stand on ground zero, and I had my camera, so I was taking photos. It was just such an emotional experience. Being able to go see the Statue of Liberty, Empire State Building, Chrysler Building, being able to stand in a place where you feel like there's so much history, there's so much iconic history that has happened. It shifts your mind a little bit. Being able to do a photo walk, a street photography photo walk, which is also on this channel. Back when I was making more photography-related content, that was ridiculously amazing. all these new experiences are things that you absorb. And the interesting thing is that you get to come back from a trip like this and think about it and noodle consciously and subconsciously in your brain about everything that went on. And you get to reflect. And this builds new bedrock within you. It makes you into a new, fresher, better person. And I think that is one of the greatest things that you can take from any trip that really stretches you out of your comfort zone. Any trip that is exactly where you feel like you need to be. It's the center of your universe. This is why I also think that watching vloggers, like productivity vloggers, people who are focused on productivity, is helpful, because while it can't get you physically in New York City, like being in New York City can get you in New York City, it is a good second best. So if you're sitting there and you're saying, I can't buy plane tickets right now, go find people online who are inspiring you to shift up your flow, who are inspiring you to be more differently creative, who are inspiring you to drink jet fuel and become a more productive, different person, to shift yourself away from the person that you have been, the person that everybody around you has always been. This is why YouTube, I think, is so fantastic. This is why the internet, I think, is so fantastic. But that's it. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I'd love to hear about a trip that did this sort of thing for you. I hope you have a lovely day. Goodbye.